The start of the whole project came about because of supply problems with the black pots, and we had leakage of the plastic through to the pot. So we called a meeting with the supplier, and it was a conversation that said, you know, there's a big problem here, we're thinking of switching suppliers away from you. Instead, he came back to us with the solution of, I've got a facility maybe a mile or so down the road from you, and actually we've got a lot of free space there. So what we propose to do is move the production over to Poole. Previously the supplies were coming from China, so this would drastically cut down our carbon footprint on shipping the goods in, also allow us to control the feedstock, the plastic that we were feeding into the whole process. So we decided to bite the bullet and go with them. The first stage would be the black pots, but in time they would become our plastic partner, so we would also move other kinds of machinery there.
The first machines arrived in February, and by March they were up and running, and that was when I first got to see the project. So the first thing I got to see down at the factory was the black pots being made, which was really exciting.
The black pots are ground down into little flakes. That then goes into this machine here. It's melted and then gets made into a black pot.
This is the vacuum forming machine which will be used to make all of our moulds. This here is the skeletal or waste product. As we know, there's no such thing as waste. That's actually going to be ground down, made into these preforms, which will then be blown into our clear bottles. And here we have it, finally. This machine blows our preforms into our finished bottles. So what we're really looking to develop here is several closed loops, and the closed loop really would depend on the type of plastic we use. So the most simplest of the closed loop systems is probably the black pots. Black pots are made of PP, and simply we can take our black pots in from our customers, regrind them, and the flake from that can actually be fed straight back into the machine. Unlike certain plastics, this can be done over and over again without adding virgin material, and they won't deteriorate in quality, so that's a really simple, great closed loop to have. So the loop with the PET material was slightly more complicated, whereby we would use our factory moulds, the ballistics or the soaps or massage bars. They can be reground, but they can't unfortunately then be used to make new moulds. The reason is the vacuum forming machine uses sheets, which would require an extrusion process, which is an awful lot of money at this stage and investment in machinery. Fortunately, our clear bottles are also made of PET, so we can then granulate our old moulds and we can make them into new bottles.
This is waste left from the manufacture of your ballistic moulds. All waste is reprocessed in a large granulator as this, which granulates it down to a pellet. These pellets are the start of the process in manufacturing your packaging. We only use recycled materials, and we also run closed loop within our own facility to produce 100% recycled products for yourselves.
So what we see here is mixed coloured plastic. This granulate goes into the machine with a colour master batch and is made into our black pots. What we want to work towards is a closed loop, so where all our black pots come back to us and then are made back into black pots.
So it's been quite a learning curve going through the project. We've moved all of our labels over to plastic labels, so that the whole pot and the label can be recycled, which is quite unprecedented in a lot of packaging that's out there on the market.
I'm going to talk to you about what happens when you've given your customer the fresh face mask, they've brought back all their black pots, and you send them to the factory to get processed. Hopefully you'll send them through just like that, and they'll be lovely and clean, easy for us to sort. We can put them straight on and they'll go through and be ground up and made into brand new pots for your products. Unfortunately, sometimes they come through like this, a bit mucky, not very nice. harder for us to process here. We have a team of about 12 who have to stay after hours. We wash all the pots and then they get sent through. Not only that, if we miss even a tiny bit of product, if you think the amount of pots that we get sent, it's pretty like thousands, and it adds up and it can contaminate the pots for the next production and ruin the whole batch. So I really need you to clean them as well as you can. So what we do this end, we end up having to give them a good scrub, make sure they're nice and clean. They go back on and then they can go for a regrind. It takes a lot of man hours, so if you can make it easier on my team, make them really clean. Thanks very much.
At the moment we're at 18% return on our black pots, so it would be amazing to have a higher percentage on that and to have as many possible back really, so they can be ground up and made back into pots, so they can boom round back to us. It'd be lovely.
If you were to wind the clock back a year or so ago and we were buying plastic from China, we were buying plastic from Europe. If you were to wind the clock forward a year or so, hopefully I can be telling you that we're buying all of our core packaging from just over the road in Poole. This will cut down hugely on our carbon footprint. It allows us to employ and contribute to the local economy. It's going to drastically cut down on items sent for landfill. It's going to cut down on plastic, our plastic that goes out into public circulation, and there's a risk of it going into landfill. And it's even going to cut down on new manufacture of plastic. So for me, it's a fantastic project to be involved in for so many different reasons.